Hi, welcome to episode 1 of Lawyer Wako Legal Stories. I'm so much excited to be back again with another video. So this is going to be our first video in terms of content, but I had uploaded a video a few days ago, an introduction video a few days ago, and I really hope and pray that you're not watching this video without checking the introduction video down below. And I think that everything else about me as a person is in the introduction video, which is something that you should be really looking out for. I'm so much excited to be here. I think it's so fulfilling to me as a person to be uploading content on this platform. Yes, I'm so happy to be here. And I think maybe something that I forgot to include in that introduction video is that I intend to run, let's call them mini-sodes in this platform. I intend to run mini-sodes in between our stories called the Legal Lens. And under the Legal Lens, we're going to be looking at interesting legal perspectives in Kenya. It's just going to be 1 or 2 minutes about what we find interesting under the Kenyan laws, and that is something we should be looking forward to on our next video, which is episode 2 of Lawyer Wako Legal Stories, coming up in a few days time, I guess. I think this is the point where I ask you guys to subscribe to my channel. So please kindly subscribe to my channel down below. I promise you that subscribing to this channel is absolutely free of charge, and you won't be charged nothing for subscribing, and it will be really helpful to me in a big way. From that particular confession, Joseph Mwenda and Willie Kimani were killed using a polythene bag and a rope, and their bodies were stashed in a sack. And Joseph Mwiruri was strangled to death.
Families of lawyer Willie Kimani, Joseph Mwenda, and taxi driver Joseph Mwiruri waited for 7 years to see the individuals behind the murders of their king held accountable for their crimes.
Just in 2021 alone, there were 219 cases of killings and enforced disappearances that were documented from Kenya. And I think that if you're a viewer from Kenya, I don't have a better way of introducing our story today, because this is one of the longest murder trials that has been ongoing in Kenya since 2016, 6 years down the line. And this is the Willie Kimani case, commonly known as the Mavoko 3 case, that involved 3 victims: Willie Kimani, Joseph Mwenda, and Joseph Mwiruri. These were victims who were murdered by police officers who were recently sentenced on 3rd of February 2023. And I think there is a lot to unpack in these particular stories because the details might be a bit confusing. We had 3 victims involved. That is Willie Kimani, who was at that time an advocate and a lawyer working for the International Justice Mission, an NGO that works to help vulnerable people in the community to access justice. And there was Joseph Mwenda, who was by that time a border rider, who was the main target of these killers. And then there was Joseph Mwiruri. Joseph Mwiruri was a taxi driver at the time of the incident. One thing that really saddens me about this particular case is the fact that I believe that it should have never ended as a murder case, because it is a case that started off as a minor traffic offense in 2015 when Joseph Mwenda was shot by Frederick Laliman, who was a police officer on duty. And 3 days later, he was charged with drug possession, gambling, and resisting arrest, which are things that he really did not commit. And then Mwenda went ahead to file this particular complaint against the officer at the Independent Policing Oversight Authority, which is a state body in Kenya that is given the mandate to hold police officers accountable in the case of performance of their duties. So Willie Kimani partook of this case to help Joseph Mwenda obtain justice, and the police continually went ahead to frustrate this victim. June 23rd, 2016 was when Willie Kimani, Joseph Mwenda, and Joseph Mwiruri met their death after leaving Mavoko law courts following a hearing that they had just attended on traffic violation charges against Willie Kimani's client, who was Joseph Mwenda. And after their abduction, they were taken to Syokimau Administration Police Camp, where they were kept for almost 6 hours. And in between, an incident happened where one of the victims managed to call their relatives and informed them that they had been detained in a particular police camp. There are very chilling and disturbing details about how these 3 people were murdered. And these details are contained in a confession given by Peter Ngugi, who is one of the accused person, in a 21-page handwritten document that he has submitted as evidence. Their bodies were stashed in a sack, and Joseph Muiruri was strangled to death. An autopsy report that was done on the late and the bodies of the late victims showed that Willie Kimani had a fractured skull, and the right hand had been broken, which looked like there was a struggle between him and the killers. And some resources also claim that Willie Kimani's eyes looked like they had been gouged out. And I really do think that no human being deserves to go through such a painful and awful death. And just a reminder that death is such a painful occurrence, and losing a loved one, a friend, or a relative in such a brutal and inhuman way can be so heartbreaking. And after so many trials and investigation, there was a final verdict given on 3rd of February this year by Justice Jesse Lessit, whereby the mastermind behind these murders, Mr. Freddie Kaliman, was sentenced to death, and his other co-accused persons were sentenced to more than 20 years in prison. And despite justice being served, this judgment may not bring back Willie Kimani, Josephat Mwenda, or Joseph Muiruri, but we live in the hope that this judgment may bring some form of closure to the affected families. This may be just one of the many cases that have involved police brutality in Kenya, and I hope that the My Work of 3 case will serve as a jurisprudence to other cases of the same kind. I would love to live in a country where we can feel protected and safe in the hands of police officers. I equally hope that the recently launched Maraga Task Force will look into, among other issues, the current fraud that is ongoing in the police force and maybe come up with probable solutions and the root cause for it. That should be the end of our case today, and I will end this podcast by saying that let justice be our shield and defender. Until next time, be good to yourselves and be good to those around you. See you in the next episode.